Hello and welcome back to 1874, the podcast. It's Monday, so it's time for me to be joined by the Athletics' Gregg Evans to talk about Southampton 0, Aston Villa 3, and I'm sure we'll find some other Villa stuff to talk about as well. This show is sponsored by NordVPN. If you want to get a discount and 4 months free, head to 1874.io/NordVPN, and you don't need to worry because it's completely risk-free because Nord offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, and Nord did also allow me to watch the Southampton game at the weekend, so it is a very, very helpful tool. If you want to help the channel out and download, then go and do that and you'll allow yourself to watch some extra football. As I mentioned, I am joined by the Athletics' Gregg Evans, and Gregg Evans was at Wembley yesterday to watch a glorious game of football as Peterborough beat Birmingham City 2-0. Gregg, how was your trip to Wembley? It's nice for Wembley to get in these little tester events before the big events to come in the FA Cup.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. Really enjoyable day, actually. You know, the result I didn't expect. I thought Birmingham would go there and win. Surprising, really, because they're beaten Peterborough twice over the course of this season in League One, and look, are by far the most dominant team in the divisions that enter that trophy. So yeah, surprising result. Good day. I interviewed Tom Brady before the game, which was a good picture for the gram. That. Yeah, I mean, like often people ask me who's the most famous person you've ever interviewed, and I've got an easy answer now to answer that one. So yeah, that was a good experience for myself personally. Birmingham, as I've always said, you know, it's not a Birmingham City podcast, but Birmingham City, very, very accommodating club. Ambitious club on the up, and I'm sure they'll be in the Premier League in the years to come. But yeah, I suppose on a brighter note for some of our Villa audience, it was great to see Jed Steer, you know, one of football's really good guys, as both of us have previously mentioned on the podcast. Yeah, made a really important save in stoppage time. Look, there was 11 minutes, I think, of 9 or 11 minutes, can't remember, of stoppage time, but he made a brilliant save from Lukas Djukovic, and that was really important actually, because Birmingham did build a bit of momentum in the second half. They just couldn't get that goal. Spoke to him after. It's crazy, really, because when he was at Villa, he was quite a shy guy. You know, he never didn't really like doing much media, but very sort of open now and confident in himself. You know, he's a father now. He's got another kid on the way. It really nice little note as well. His son's just past 2 years old, and under twos can't get into Wembley. So his son was old enough, just about to see his dad win another trophy at Wembley. And he had his trophy around his neck, very proud. And he did have a little tiny little dig at the sort of Villa Birmingham rivalry, and said, look, as an ex-Villa player, this means even more to me to beat Birmingham City, because, you know, I know how strong the rivalry is. So yeah, lovely to see Jed, and yeah, good day out.
What a guy! I know he's at the half as well. I saw all her pictures on Instagram yesterday, taking the little boy to watch his dad for the first time. So great stuff. Really pleased for Jed, because, as you say, he's one of the nicest guys in football. So friendly, and yeah, he deserves every success in his life, in his career. So great to see him play at Wembley again. Gregg, let's talk about the book. The QR code will be flashing up on the screen now. As you will all know, regular listeners of this podcast, Waking the Giant by Gregg Evans and Matt Mayer, will be out later on this year, looking at the rise of Aston Villa, Waking the Giant, as I just said, I think that it's called. Gregg, how's it all going? Any updates on the book?
Yeah, it's going to be released early June. There were some hopes that we could get it into May, but because Villa are still doing very well in a couple of competitions, we just want that tiny little bit of wriggle room to perhaps finish off one of the chapters. And yeah, look, you know, speaking to Jed yesterday, he contributed heavily to a couple of the earlier chapters. Really proud of the promotion winning chapter. Actually, I think that'll be a really enjoyable one for Villa fans to get stuck into when the book comes out. But yeah, not too long now, and thanks to everybody who's already pre-ordered it. And look, you know, I obviously hope you guys who buy it get something out of it, because a lot of work's gone into it by myself and Matt.
Yeah, I'll flash the QR code at various points through the show. We're not going to just talk about Gregg for the whole show. We've covered Gregg Evans' activity now. I nearly asked a question about golf, but I'm not going to. I can't.
Well, we should because look, it was the Masters. Come on, look. Let's touch on it very briefly. 30 seconds.
Okay, I'll
because
give you 30 seconds.
these it will go down as one of the best Masters ever. It was unbelievable. Justin Rose getting so close to winning the green jacket and then having to go into a playoff hole with Rory McIlroy. I was up very late last night having covered the EFL Trophy final, watching the Masters. Amazing. Everything, Rory, for all the struggles that he's gone through in majors in recent years, and the US Open blow up. I've gone over 30 seconds, haven't I? The US Open blow up last year. It was so painful for anybody who likes golf, who's watching with me. I presume you would have felt the same pain that I felt watching Rory McIlroy go through that back nine. Painful. I thought he was going to throw it away again, but finally got the job done, and very, very emotional on that first playoff hole. So yeah, that's me done. Let's move on to Aston Villa.
Okay, excellent. I'm Crookie said just pre-order the audiobook on Audible. Is it global, Greg, reading it?
No, it's not. I mean, there are professional speakers who do the audiobooks, and we've hired somebody with a much cleaner and better voice than myself.
Bit disappointing not to have been asked. To be honest, Phil, I've got the voice for an audio book. Greg, disappointed that you've...
you can't read though, Dan, can you, sir?
I'm a very good reader. I was very advanced for my age at school, I'll have you know, with my reading. So you take that back. Absolutely outrageous what you've just said there. Amongst all your golf and you going across to enemy territory, Villa played a game on Saturday, Greg. Probably a harder game than maybe we thought it was going to be. Certainly when it gets to the hour mark and it's poised at 0-0, you do start to get a little element of concern that it might not be your day, because Villa dominated possession, were a better team, a couple of breaks. But sometimes these games can be banana skins. They can be tough, and I think it's fair to say Southampton were a little bit more robust than they have been throughout the rest of the Premier League season with the caretaker manager in charge. Certainly put it about Villa. I can't believe it took so long for anyone to get booked in a Southampton shirt, because they really got amongst it and closed Villa down in numbers, and there were some naughty late tackles in there as well. But Villa did get the job done eventually, and in the end, 3-0 probably makes it look a little bit more comfortable than it was, but another great result for Villa, and probably a mixed bag of results across the rest of the teams that are pushing towards top 5 this weekend. First off, kind of how did you see the game? Second off, how do you think Villa are set now in terms of the top 5, top 6, top 7, I guess, because Villa are in there. It's narrowed down, hasn't it, now, the teams that are going to be pushing for Champions League qualification?
Yeah, I mean, the game itself, I think, was very similar to the sort of Cardiff and Preston games. Villa are up against a team that are a championship team, effectively, aren't they? They're just not good enough to be in the Premier League. So they're a little bit better than Preston and Cardiff. So the game went in a very similar way to those two games. It took a little bit of time for Villa to eventually get the breakthrough. But then they comfortably got the job done in the second half of all 3 of those games and kept clean sheets. So a positive, look, Villa actually just go and get the job done. Let's go and win. The changes made a big difference. The fact that they've got so many players to turn to off the bench now to change a game helped. Fresh Ollie Watkins coming on and scoring a brilliant goal like that. It felt like that meant a lot to him. And I wouldn't put it past him now having a decent run to the end of the season, because this is what we talk about with Ollie Watkins. Every time he scores a goal, he goes on a run, doesn't he? So we expect that now. Was a little bit concerned with time obviously ticking on, because you felt surely Villa aren't going to throw this, aren't going to blow this opportunity to keep their Champions League push alive. Because I felt if they hadn't have got the 4 points there, you've been really worried leading into the final games of the season. I probably made a mistake, actually. I think last week or 2 weeks ago when I was on, and I said that Villa need 5. I think I said 5 wins out of 9 to get into the to get enough points to get into the Champions League. I mean, probably should have looked at that a little bit more carefully, but Villa probably needed 7 out of 9, actually, when you think of it, maybe even 8, just because of how much they had to do to catch up with other teams. I think they've made they've made great strides, because they beat Brighton and they beat Nottingham Forest. At one point they were 12 points behind Nottingham Forest. I think it's just 3 now, isn't it? So
pulled right back into it now.
Yeah, Forest, and you start to. I did say this about Forest. They're a team that aren't used to consistently winning, and at some point that's gonna be difficult for them mentally. whether they have an end of season flurry remains to be seen. But yeah, I think, as you say, there's a little bit of a gap now, isn't there, between Villa in 7th and Fulham, is it, in 8th? And it will be any order, won't it? I think it's really, really difficult to predict. The top two are certain, I'd say, but then 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, it could be any of the 5. So Villa are in a great shout. They probably have to beat Newcastle, I'd say, and then not lose to Manchester City, which is going to be really difficult in itself. But they've done everything they can at the moment. You know, in the last 5 or 6 weeks, since Unai Emery came out and said, we really, really need to make up points in the Premier League. Forget about everything else that we're involved in just for a moment. The Premier League's our priority. We need to make up these points. They've done that. They've done that, and they're still in an FA Cup semi-final, and they've got this, opportunity tomorrow to go and have a real go against PSG.
Yeah, I did a show with Big John Townley and Dan Rollinson on Claret and Blue. We recorded it last night. It'll be out today, and we kind of talked about the Champions League picture and the race to finish top 5. Villa beating Forest last week kind of pulled them back into it. And then certainly them losing at the weekend so late and Villa winning that game. There's not much distance between Forest and Villa now, which, as you said, would have been unthinkable probably 2-3 weeks ago. We wouldn't have envisaged Villa catching Forest, really. If you look at the state of the league table now, I think Newcastle and City are doing the business in terms of getting results. Man City aren't playing well, but they're starting to kind of pick out results again and get results when they need. Newcastle have got their game in hand in the week, which is quite big. If they win that, I think they're up to 3rd. I think we could be living in a scenario where actually Newcastle and Man City, depending on what happens with our games, it'd be great to pick up some points off them. I think it's important not to lose either of those games, or certainly to take 4 points for Villa would be massive from those two games. But it could be a situation where actually Newcastle and City are 3rd and 4th, and it ends up being a shootout between Villa and Forest for 5th. And I kind of think that at the moment, last season, Villa were sat in 4th. They were being chased, and we were running out of gas. We didn't have a deep enough squad. Injuries were piling up, and luckily for us, it was Tottenham, so they didn't catch us. But I think now Forest, I'm not saying injuries aren't really catching up with them. They've got a couple of players out. They've had a few injuries, but they've lost a bit of momentum. They're not used to being in this position, and they're looking a bit similar to Villa at the back end of last season. Now, for us, we're used to now, because we did it last season, trying to be in and around the top 4 and the top 5. But I think the way Emery's got this team playing at the moment, the mentality at the club, the way everyone's speaking, the way Emery's speaking, I think it suits us to actually be the chaser rather than to be the ones that are kind of setting the pace and having someone grinding down on us. I think it's actually a good thing to be the ones chasing at the moment. A little bit like when we were gunning for the Conference League and gunning for 7th place, and we kept churning out results. I think it's a good thing for Villa to be the chaser. Did you agree with that?
I think so, and just purely because they've got the momentum now as well. If you take the PSG game out of the equation, Villa have won, 8 out of 9, and kept 6 out of 9 clean sheets. So it feels like, the momentum's building there. They're doing everything they can to catch up, to make up the deficit that was caused by not beating some of the lower ranked teams earlier in the season. If you think of the Ipswich games, failing to beat Crystal Palace, I think at home, is that right? 2-2. And then obviously heavily losing away, but we know the games where they drop points earlier in the season, and they're starting to make up some of that ground now. The next 2 games are massive for me. I think they just have to. I mean, as you say, they can't lose, yeah. And that you're asking this team to go again twice after a really important PSG game, so it's going to be tough for Villa. But if they mess up in the next 2 games, I think it's going to be a little bit too much for them, because I just don't see Forest dropping enough points then to allow Villa to catch them. But Chelsea seem to be a team that are slightly on the slide, aren't they? Then they're not quite looking as robust and free flowing as they were earlier in the season. Amazing, really. We were talking about them as potential title challengers at one point, weren't they? But they've really dropped off. Cole Palmer's form seems to have just disappeared as well. So Villa are in a good place. They've got almost every player available. the debate is what's the best team, I suppose now, because
Well, Vidagani said, didn't he? It's not the
yeah,
best team. It's the best. It's the
and
starting 22, and I quite
and
like
look,
that.
that was the plan at the start of the season. Over the summer, Emery wanted to build a squad that was capable of being strong, regardless of who dropped in and out of the team. So, he's got that, but. And results have been good, haven't they? So it doesn't matter. Villa have made so many changes. I think they made something like 20 changes in the last 3 or 4 games. So it's working still. Yeah, I mean, look, it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow night. Whether that will really take the sting out of them or whether it will galvanise them even further.
Yeah, I think I'm almost not discounting the Champions League because obviously it's absolutely huge, and I don't think I'm an optimist, and I don't think I'm a pessimist with it. I'll probably sit somewhere in the middle, but I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that Villa go through and progress to the semi-final. But it's going to take a gargantuan effort to get there because PSG are absolutely fantastic. But I'm just glad that they've kind of put themselves in the picture for the league, because it did look at one point like the Premier League season might fall away a bit. It had been a very, very bitty season for Villa, and I read this the other day, and I agree with it. I think all you can ask for is that, kind of from your football club, is that you give yourselves a chance, and that you put yourselves in the picture. And Villa in January, with what they did, gave themselves the best chance to make a push on all the competitions that they were left in. And as far as I'm concerned, they've done that. Whatever happens now between now and the end of the season, Villa have put themselves in a position to have a really successful and exciting end to the season in the league, the FA Cup, and the Champions League. And that's great. And the club deserve a lot of credit because they did rework the squad in January and they did address things. Just wanted to ask you, in January, Villa have reshaped the squad slightly, obviously helped probably by the money that they got in for John Duran, probably a little bit unexpected, but they worked well with what they had, and they left the squad in a better shape than I think it was at the start of January. Because the squad now is built to fight on all fronts, in terms of numbers and quality and depth, I would say. I know they were hamstrung by PSR in the summer, but you kind of look at the summer window now and think, if only we'd just had a little bit of a better summer window, we'd be consolidated really in the top 5, because it has been a bitty season for us, yet we're still in the conversation for top 5. And as I say, the club deserve massive credit for reworking a squad in January and putting Villa in the position that they are now. But do you look back at the summer and think, got that a little bit wrong in terms of bringing in Philogene, who probably wasn't good enough, not maybe shifting Carlos and getting someone like Dizazi? And do we look back at that window now and think, well, I don't know, we don't look back at it. I just want you to look back and think, why was it so hard for Villa? Was it purely PSR? Did they get stuff wrong?
I think we've gone over this previously, the difficulties that Villa faced in the last summer window. The urgency to get rid of players to balance the books and fall into line with PSR was huge. That's why Douglas Luiz had to go. That's why they had to continue to be creative with some of the younger players, letting them go. But, I was saying a couple of years previously that Villa at some point are going to have to make a key sale, a big sale. And that turned out to be Douglas Luiz, a player that they probably didn't really want to let go, regardless of the other midfield options that they have. Because he was a big part of it last season, scored a lot of goals, fitted in nicely alongside Kamara, and could play lots of different roles. It hasn't worked out for him at Juventus, but that doesn't mean that Villa didn't want to sell him. They had to sell him. Now, Villa was still quite bold and aggressive, I'd say, in the transfer window, because they spent a record amount of money on bringing Amadou and Arna in. The deals with Kellyman moving and Ian Martson coming in looked a little bit distorted to me, because both of those transfer fees appeared to be too high. And speaking to people within the industry, nobody ever considered Kellyman as a £19 million pound player, or Martson as a £33 million pound player. So those things are a little bit different. And of course, Tim Irugbunan went to Everton as well for a very high fee. So Villa had to continue to be really creative in that respect. And the most important thing was falling in line with PSR. And this has been a case for so long. And there's actually a theme in the book that we run across as well, because it's happened on other previous occasions. So I think Villa really tried hard to top up the squad and give Emery the summer window that he wanted. A couple of players, they weren't quite able to get in. Remember, Gertruder, who Villa were trying to get in right back. They wanted him but couldn't get it because of the finances, and then he went to Leipzig. So Villa had to move for a different right back, and then obviously bring Disasi in as well as somebody who could play right back and also centre back on loan. I'd look at the January windows under Sawiris and Edens and think that this is typically a time where most clubs tend to sort of hold back and think, we've done a lot of our business already in the summer, we're looking ahead to next summer. But these guys, Nassif Sawiris and Wes Edens, have always allowed the managers to have freedom in January, right back to the very, very start when Villa was struggling in the Championship under Dean Smith. They brought in Tyrone Mings and Courtney Hawes. The following year, if you remember, when Heaton and Wesley both became injured, there was freedom to then go and bring in another striker. Ali Samata came in. Didn't quite work for him, but there were no other options available. And then McGinn got injured as well, didn't he? And Villa were able to bring in another midfielder. So there's always been this flexibility in January for each manager. Dean Smith, Steven Gerrard, who obviously signed Coutinho, and Luca Dean, and now Emery to get these reinforcements in. And so you can never ever knock the owners, and I don't think many Villa fans do, but the ambition that's shown at this club, and they would spend more if they could. The only reason they don't is because of the FFP rules, the PSR rules that stop them doing that. So it's difficult really for this club because they're trying to raise the revenue. They've recorded record-breaking revenue now for 2 years in a row, I think. The worrying concern for Villa is that the wages have just gone up by something like 75-80%, I think, over 2 years, which is well over 100 million in wages that have increased. So, Villa need to be really, really careful because if they don't have Champions League football next season, they are going to have to sell more players to balance the books again. I think they're going to have to sell someone anyway, and they're going to have to probably anyway. So, but Champions League football is going to be a huge saviour for them. So, it's massive.
Yeah. I think you're right to call out January under this ownership, actually. If you just take it back to the 3 Januaries under Emery, they signed Moreno and Duran in the first one, and I think we can agree that Moreno kind of transformed Villa at the time. Him and Ramsey down that left hand side, and was a big part of Villa qualifying for Europe in the first place in terms of getting Conference League. Last January, January just before the last one, Morgan Rogers turned into arguably our best player and arguably now Villa's most valuable player. In fact, I think he probably is Villa's most valuable player in terms of the kind of transfer fee that he would command. He brilliant signing for cheap. Value has gone up to an absolute extortionate rate now. And then this January, the 5 that they've bought in, it's kind of compounded with what's happened in the last few games, because every game now Villa are capable of making strong changes from the bench. And every kind of week, it feels like someone comes off the bench and gets a goal. This weekend, 3 players come off the bench, 3 players score. First time that's ever happened in the Premier League. Things like that don't happen by accident. Emery's picking his team and picking his moments to bring people on. I mean, I was crying out for Marlon and Watkins to come on social media, and they did, and they got those goals. But being able to bring in players of such huge quality, whatever 11 you're putting out now, that's become a real big thing for Villa. It helped the game against Brighton a few weeks ago that they won 3-0, people coming off the bench and scoring. And it helped again this weekend. Let's just talk about Ollie Watkins coming off the bench. He spoke after the game, frustrated to not be playing. He's disappointed, but he respects Emery's decision. Huge goal. He came on and made an instant impact as well, because he won a penalty that obviously Asensio didn't dispatch. The goal, it's a wonderful ball from Tielemans again. It's an unbelievable finish from Ollie Watkins to do what he did there, to kind of come up with that kind of finish on the fly. That is absolutely brilliant, Greg.
Yeah, he needed that, didn't he? Because it's not been a great few weeks for him. He's come out and said that he wants to play more, and that it hurts him when he doesn't. That's nothing new. He's always felt that way. I do think Watkins in recent months has produced better finishes when he's had less time to think. I think he's been overthinking some of the one-on-ones that he's missed, with those dink shots that haven't quite come off. This was a brilliant finish, and it will give him confidence, and I'm sure he'll go on and score more goals now, as he does typically when he goes on this run of games. To go back to your point of bringing on so many players from the substitutes bench who can have an impact. I think Marlon scored in his last 3 Premier League games now, which is good. Still feel really sorry for him that he missed out on the Champions League squad, because I can't get into that. And no matter what Villa did in the January transfer window by bringing 5 players in, I just still think you just can't sign a guy who finished as a Champions League runner-up last year in January and not include him in the Champions League squad. But that's another topic. The quality and the strength of Villa's squad now is why it's correct that expectations should be really high. Villa have got one of the best squads in the Premier League now, so it's why they should be finishing in the top 3, 4, 5 places. And if they're not, then it's fair now. Fair for supporters to say, well, why aren't we? We've got this brilliant squad now. We've got this elite manager. We continue to spend, huge amounts of money on improving this squad through wages and transfer fees. We should be finishing 4th. That's what supporters should be saying now. So there are no excuses, which is why Villa need to get the job done in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
What did you make of Watkins' celebration? Quite a passionate celebration, wasn't it? Kind of let out some pent up frustration.
Yeah,
I'm sure. What were your thoughts on the celebration with the away fans?
Well, I mean, you'll know from my reaction to celebrations over the years, I look into them a lot, because when a player's in his groove and he's scoring lots of goals, he tends not to celebrate too much because it's very normal.
Yeah.
when you see a player letting off that type of emotion, you know that it really means something, and then you have to look a little bit deeper into it. I remember Ramsey when he was waiting quite a long time for goals and scored, and then just looked so delighted to be able to finally celebrate with the Villa fans. Felt like that with Watkins. It was almost like, this is me. Don't forget me. Yes, we've got Marcus Rashford, but I'm the guy that's trying to become the Aston Villa's all-time Premier League goal scorer. I'm the guy that's carried this team with goals in recent years. And I think he wanted the penalty as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he was not happy with the penalty.
Yeah,
he probably should have been given the penalty as well. Let's face it.
Well, look, I mean, a lot of work goes into the set pieces, as we know, and the preparation's all done in advance, and the penalty kick taker is the penalty kick taker. Perhaps he had an argument because Asensio had already missed, but yeah, I mean, he'll have a stronger case for the next one, let's be honest.
I think because Watkins, he got taken off Watkins as soon as he missed it, and he missed against Celtic. And then he wasn't the pen taker anymore.
Yeah, well, he's been up and down, hasn't he?
He's
because
not
he missed a couple he missed one in America, I think, in pre-season years ago, when Archer was still around, and then that's how Douglas Luiz became the penalty kick taker, because Austin McPhee worked tirelessly with him on a new technique, and then they felt that it was very, very beneficial for Villa to have that guy taking the kicks, and never really had a long-term recognised penalty kick taker, have they? No. Players that have taken them, but not somebody who has got a brilliant record with penalties. So, yeah, still an area that Villa do need to improve on.
We've had some missed penalties. There's some different takers as well, haven't we? Watkins has missed one, Tielemans has missed one, Asensio has missed 2 now. I don't think there's anyone else. Duran was obviously pretty good from the spot when he was on the pitch. Emery said afterwards, Rashford's the pen taker, then it's Asensio. Then it's either Watkins, McGinn, and I can't remember if you...
Rodgers, he mentioned, didn't he, as well? Yeah.
Mentioned Rodgers. It'd be interesting to see who takes one on Tuesday night if we were to get one. I would level that it probably shouldn't be Asensio after missing 2 penalties in one game. So
I think the big one with Asensio now is like, it's whether he plays, isn't it? It's like, he didn't start the first game. I'm not sure he starts.
I think it might be Rodgers, Asensio, McGinn off Watkins is my thought. I could be wrong.
There's so many options, isn't there? It is actually really difficult to predict Emery's team now, because you just don't know what he's going to do.
No, that's great to have so many options, isn't it? I saw AVFC Stato tweeted, and I don't know whether anyone knows the answer to this, and I don't know whether you know, Greg. You were probably at the other one I can remember. Apparently, only 4 times in Premier League history has a player missed 2 penalties in a game for a team. And 3 of them were Villa.
Did Darren Bent miss 2 once?
Don't know. I've got to say, obviously Asensio. I remember Angel missing 2 at Fulham.
Angel missed 2 at Fulham because I wrote an article on that.
I don't know
more recently.
I don't know who the third one is. I don't know if Stato's got it right. I'm sure
it might be Gareth Barry. Did Gareth Barry miss 2?
Yeah, you might be right there. Could be.
I remember writing an article on Angel missing 2, but it was because somebody else did, and I looked back on it. Was it one of the more recent penalty takers that missed 2? Oh, we'll find it out. We'll find it out.
Let's know. Someone will know.
Yeah.
In this chat, or someone's googling right now.
Dev is very active in the comments. I'm seeing Dev pop up quite a lot.
He's trying to sell your book for you.
We're going to go through a couple of Dev's comments. Gregg's been up early in the gym for 6 a.m. to be mentally sharp for this morning podcast. Haven't actually, because I was up too late and watching the golf. And Dev also says waking the giant is actually about Gregg staying up all night watching the golf. Yeah, very active today, Dev. Thanks for your comments.
I assumed Dev had seen you in the gym this morning when I saw.
No, it was too early. I couldn't get up this morning.
Okay, I got up really early. This is quite sad, actually. I got up really early this morning to watch a TV program. I was up at 7 to watch The Last of Us series 2, the first episode.
Okay, each to their own. You know, if you've got time in the morning to do that, look here.
David Stiles is saying that Stato's wrong. I don't like to call Stato out. He said Juan Pablo Angel, Darren Bent, and Saido Berahino.
Yeah, I remember Darren Bent doing it, but it was Sunderland, wasn't it? Yeah, no, it was Sunderland. But I thought it was the question of who had missed him in the Premier League.
Maybe Stato said 3 have played for Villa. A bit ambiguous that from Stato.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm going to go back and analyse that tweet later on. But yeah, do follow ABFC Stato anyway, because he's the best Villa account on social media. So worth following on both X and Instagram. We kind of touched on Marlon, but brilliant finish again, very similar to the Brighton goal. It was weird because when he went through, I had absolutely no doubt in my mind that he was going to score.
Yeah,
I just felt like it was going to be a goal, and I'm so impressed with him. I am. Every little cameo he's had, he's shown me something where I've thought, right, you're a really good player actually, and I would like to see a bit more of you. But Emery's managing him and integrating him slowly. Obviously, as you said, he's not registered for the Champions League. I think he's going to be a big player for Villa next season when he gets a full pre-season and gets built into the team a little bit more. You would expect, but I like a player that he's probably a bit down about some of the stuff that's happened, but every little chance he's been given, he's done something. And I like that he's kind of grasped every opportunity that comes his way.
Well, yeah, I mean, you will be seeing more of him because he's a permanent player. You don't know what's going to happen.
Greg, we could sell him, but can never rule that out with PSR.
Yeah, do a filler, Gene. Yeah, you can't. You don't know what's going to happen with Rashford and Asensio. Still too early to say. But with Marlon, he's there. He's going to be there next season. I think he's growing into it. He's enjoying himself. Looks happier, doesn't he? I think now, in the last couple of weeks, goals obviously make a big difference. And yeah, brilliant finishes.
Yeah, and then McGinn gets the first Premier League goal of the season, Greg, for John McGinn, I believe. In April. Come on, John. Where's the shooting boots, John? But he's off the mark. He called himself John McShin after the game, didn't he? Right-footed, right shinned finish from John McGinn. Still a brilliant player for Villa. Was man of the match in Paris, in my opinion.
Oh, he was excellent, wasn't he? The work that he got through off the ball against Paris was amazing against this brilliant midfield. So I'm pretty sure he's going to play against Paris again because it worked, didn't it? Well, it did work because Villa just needed a bit of help elsewhere. Sorry, was there a question?
Not really. I can't believe it's his first goal of the season. Because if you look at I'm not saying he's ever been a regular goal scorer. I think he got maybe 7 or 8 last season from midfield. But when you think about the amount of goals Leon Bailey scored last season, and I've just said McGinn probably got 7 or 8. He scored in the Champions League this season, John McGinn. But for it to be his first Premier League goal in April, you probably won't be actually that happy with that.
No, I mean he wants to score, doesn't he? Of course he does. He loves the moments. He scored so many goals for Scotland because he plays slightly more advanced. But look, if he's part of a winning team, it's a bit of a boring answer, but if he's part of a winning team and Villa are still in the top levels of the Premier League, at the last stages of FA Cups, Champions League again. You know, he's been there through the tough times. He knows what it was like playing for Villa in the Championship and staying up in the Premier League by a point. So these are much better times for John McGinn than what he's used to.
I thought he was Villa's bravest player last week. I thought he took the game to PSG as exampled with the first goal, well, with the goal that Villa scored. I thought he was so brave and he did so much in that game. And I'm right. I think he's going to start against PSG. In fact, he was rested at the weekend. Tells you that he's going to play against PSG. But there will be a match preview on this channel later on today. I suspect previewing the PSG game. Is there anything else that caught your eye from the Southampton win, Greg? Good to just keep. You just have to win that game, don't you? You're kind of on a hiding to nothing, aren't you? Because if you win, you're expected to win. If you don't, it's embarrassing.
100%. Villa just had to go and win. You know, it was as simple as that. They did the job just like they did against the other Championship clubs. You know, Preston and Cardiff just have to go and beat these teams that are clearly inferior to Villa now. So yeah, you know, fair play that they got the job done. I suppose the only interesting thing going ahead to PSG is whether it would be Mings or Torres.
Torres, he'll be Torres. Again, you can.
I mean,
I
just wonder. Yeah, I mean, he probably will be, but I do just wonder if Emery had flipped it around, and I know we can look at it in hindsight and look, would Mings playing instead of Torres made that much of a difference in Paris? I don't know, but no. I do.
I'm Mings' biggest fan, but what would he have done about the first two goals?
I just wonder. I know, but it's not. You have to look deeper than that. It's not the, you know, it's the passages of play from before, and, you know, 5 passages of play previously and how they give the ball away and things like that. We can't change it now, of course, but I just find it interesting. If Mings had played, would it have been any different?
I thought it was good as well.
Would Emery be tempted to do that tomorrow?
No, I don't think, unless you know something.
No, I know. This
is the problem with you and Jacob. Sometimes you and Jacob, you both do this. You've got to, you know something, but you obviously can't come out and say that you know the team. You'll just drop something in as the opposite to me. But I feel like Jacob did it the other week with me. I can't remember if it was Mings or Torres, but he did it the other week to me, where he definitely knew something. And he's done it when you've done it to me before as well. But you just know something. Someone's told you something, and you just use it to your advantage and try and make me look silly. Because I'm saying Pau Torres is going to start, so I wonder if someone's giving you the nod.
No. I'm just saying
what business on the golf course.
You asked me if there was anything else, and the one thing that was on my mind was if Mings had played instead of Torres at PSG, would anything have been different? That was all. Just a tiny little thing. And there's obviously with a second leg, there's a chance to mix that up again. Could they do that? Probably won't, but I wonder if it'd have made a difference.
Okay. I'm trying to look at you like Larry David.
Will we ever see? Okay, and the final one. Will we ever see Torres in deep line midfield role?
No,
never ever.
Again, unless someone's told you something. He's a centre back. He's really good at what he does from centre back, and Villa have got very strong central midfield options. They've probably got 6.
No, I mean in Torres' career, will he ever play defensive midfield?
I don't know whether he's. This is going to sound silly because obviously he's a centre back, so you need to be relatively physical to be a centre back. He got the kind of physicality. Would he get around the pitch well enough to be a midfielder? I don't think so. You'd have to do as much running as a centre back, do you?
No.
Dev's asking. I mean, I think I know the answer to this one. Dan Gregg, Jacob Tanswell, and John Townley go on mastermind with a specialist subject of Villa. Who wins? Who do you reckon wins?
Dan.
I've got to say, I think John would be close.
I just think because you're older. 25 years older than him, that you've.
How old is John? I don't know how old John is. He's young though, isn't he?
25. So he's
I think he might be younger.
You're close to 50, aren't you? So
very good. I mean,
anyway, I would say you. I'd say you purely because I'd say you, John probably next, then me, then Jacob, and I think just purely because me and Jacob don't support the team. Jacob's younger and has obviously covered the club for a lower amount of time, so he wouldn't know lots of the stuff that happened previously. But yeah, I think you cover all bases because A, you're a veteran. B,
I'm about 2 years older than you, aren't I?
You've been all over it since you were 5 or 6. You know everything. And when there are times when I need help on things that have happened prior to me covering the club, I often ask you or couple of my friends who are older as well.
I've just remembered that I was supposed to help you with something at the weekend.
Oh yeah, I only asked you 3 times.
It's really, really poor from really, really bad. I apologise from that for that. Sorry, I'll throw another name in the mix who's quite I think would run me close. He's not obviously wasn't mentioned just then. Simon Lyons is good. He's similar age to me. He's a bit younger than me, but he's got a good knowledge. I've come up against him in quizzes before, and he was very good. Well, David has asked. Well, I don't know why we've turned into Matt Kendrick and Claret and Blue here. He's asking who'd win the bake-off. I mean, that definitely wouldn't be me.
I'm sorry, David. I'm not even going to go down there.
You're not good at cooking. Not good at baking.
I'm good. I'm decent.
Oh,
but yeah.
What's your special dish?
I don't know. I'm pretty good. I'm not very good on desserts, I'd say.
Isn't that what you can bake off desserts? I might be wrong.
I think
that might be a problem.
I don't watch this shit. I don't know.
I don't either, but I know that I know it's about cakes and desserts, isn't it? The bake off. I know actually, maybe they do save. I don't know.
I'd be all right on MasterChef. I think I'm like a very low version of it, but
MasterChef's a higher standard than the Bake Off, I would say.
I know, but you can do mains on there, which I'd be all right.
I think you might be able to on the Bake Off potentially.
Oh, right. I really don't watch cooking shows, so I genuinely don't know what goes on. I mean, but the name probably hints to what it is.
Yeah, it does. You won't be replacing your namesake Gregg Wallace on MasterChef, then, Greg?
Definitely not.
No. He's with one G famously as well, isn't he, Gregg Wallace?
I think it's a double G, isn't it?
Was he a double G as well?
Yeah.
G. He had an argument with someone, didn't he, on social media all those years back. Wow, this is great comment from Nigel Brooks. Well done, Nigel Brooks. I think Greg had a hard paper and seriously younger than Dan. Wow. How old are you, Greg? I actually know how old you are. I know you're younger than
37.
Me. Yeah, you're 2 years younger than me. And you're acting like I'm about to have a testimonial for something.
You're 40, aren't you?
I'm 40 soon.
There we go. Then you're 3 years older than me. It's a lot at this age.
When are you 30? I forgot now. When are you 38?
July. This is getting boring for our listeners.
You're 38 before. Wait there. You're 38 before I'm 40. Just to clarify.
Okay.
So it's not much in it. Right. Greg's annoyed. Let's go. Thank you ever so much for everyone who's joined us live on the show. Very much appreciated. Always enjoy seeing the comments come through. I'm sitting like Liam Gallagher with my hands behind my back. I don't know why I'm doing that over the microphone. Also, if you listened via audio, if you could on Apple Podcasts leave a 5-star review and say something nice about the show, that would be great. Probably ignore the last segment that we've just done. Don't mention that in any reviews. Spotify 5 stars and comment on this episode, please. And if you haven't watched live on YouTube, but you are watching on YouTube now, scan the QR code to get Greg's book. Subscribe with your post notifications on. Give the video a like and leave us a comment as well. NordVPN have sponsored the show and I haven't played the advert yet, so I'm going to let NordVPN play us out. So other than that, I will see you later on for a match preview, because I need to preview the Paris Saint-Germain game, and I will see those that are going to Villa Park tomorrow night. 1874 is proudly sponsored by NordVPN, so when and you can't watch it, we want to help you. NordVPN is a secure and private service which works on pretty much any device, including your laptop, mobile, television. So if you want to watch some live content, it allows you to appear like you're in another country. And whilst you're connected, no one else can find out what you're doing, including your internet service provider. Beyond this, the service also has threat protection baked in to protect you from intrusive website ads and malware, which is pretty handy for you. As part of NordVPN support performance for free, this also includes Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. All you've got to do is go to 1874.io/NordVPN and sign up. All the details are also in the description. As always, we're very grateful to anyone that signs up. We know that money is tight, but if you think NordVPN will help you out, it will also help keep the channel running and help us